All right, so we're going to talk a bit about the set of real numbers. So in the world of numbers, there's this thing called real numbers. And under that title, it falls into two categories. So we've got rational numbers and we've got irrational numbers. Well, what are those? What is a rational number? So the key part here is ratio. So in order to be a rational number, you have to be able to put it into a ratio or a fraction. So what kind of numbers are those? Well, let's see. 5. I can put that into a fraction as, let me do a different color, as 5 over 1. Fractions, we said, so any fraction is going to work. Maybe 2 over 4. A decimal like this is going to work, a terminating decimal. Why? Well, can I write it as a fraction? Yeah, it's in the tenths place, so that's 4 tenths. What about repeating decimals? Like 0.32, 3232 forever. Can I write that as a fraction? Yeah, I can. I just take the piece that's repeating, so in this case 32, and I put it over that many nines. So 32 over 99. So I can write it as a fraction, so it's a rational number. What about square roots? Square root of 64. Well, what is the square root of 64? It's 8. So that is rational. What about 0.245245? Well, just always go back to that question. Can I write it as a fraction? In this case, yeah, I can. I just need to find out what place value this is and put it over that number, just like I did with 0.4. So now let's move over here into irrational numbers. So if rational meant you can write it as a fraction, irrational is going to mean you can't write it as a fraction. It doesn't fall into that category. An awesome example here is pi. That's a really weird looking pi. I'm going to draw that again. All right, so pi. Pi is just a number that goes on forever, 3.14159. It keeps going. They're random numbers. There's no pattern to it, and it goes on forever. I can't write that as a fraction. I don't have a rule or a method for doing that. It's irrational. What's another one? How about the square root of 3? It's not a perfect square. It's a decimal that goes on forever. Can't write it as a fraction. It's irrational. What about 0.131331333? Well, this has a pattern to it. But you always have to go back to, can I write it as a fraction? We know a rule for writing fractions for terminating decimals. That doesn't fit here because it goes on forever. I know how to write fractions for repeating decimals. Well, what's repeating here? There isn't anything repeating. It's got a pattern, but it's not repeating. So it's not a rational number. It is irrational. What about just a decimal of random numbers? 1, 3, 4, 8, 2. I'm making this up as I go. It goes on forever randomly. Can't write it as a fraction, so it's irrational.